Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, max out your savings. The more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more. Plus, get free home delivery on any smart bed with base. Limited time. Check it out at a Sleep Number store near you or at sleepnumber.com today.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. We're working towards the weekend. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and plenty to do here over the next couple of hours. Joe Gaither from Bama Central going to be here in 15 minutes talking Tide. There's more news with the LSU athletic director situation. Basketball started off last night with the record-setting night as of the last hour. You're going, what? As of the last hour? They played like a lot of hours ago. Yeah, been a stat adjustment. LSU set a field goal percentage record last night. We'll talk about it at the end of the hour. Chris Blair with us in an hour and 15 minutes talking football and a little bit of basketball. And Luke Johnson, bottom of hour 2. Saints and Panthers this weekend. We'll get Luke's thoughts on all of that. So as you can see, plenty to do. Let's crank it up. Our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
I'm going to do something they taught me in journalism school not to do. They were very clear. I learned it. I'm just not paying attention. The biggest story revolving around LSU right now is the drama with the athletic director. That's the biggest story. It's what I should lead with. I don't want to do that. I don't want to lead the show with it. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I don't like that stuff. I didn't like it last week. I don't like it this week. I like sports. I don't like a bunch of nonsense. And while it is vitally important to the future of Louisiana State University athletics, and it is far, far more impactful than what goes on the field in Tuscaloosa on Saturday, I choose not to start with that. We will get to it. I choose not to start with it. It is LSU freaking Bama week, and I'm starting the show today, 2 days before the game, with LSU and Bama. So I hope y'all will forgive me. I hope my professors back at LSU will forgive me and understand. We're moving on with a little bit of football right now, 1 o'clock on a Thursday. So let's talk about it, because we haven't done very much of talking about LSU and Bama. And this is a game that, just if we're going to get out in front of this, I feel like Bama's a better team. I do. I probably didn't feel that way on September the 4th after LSU had gone to Clemson and played fantastic defense and gotten out of there with the road win, and Bama got annihilated by Florida State, who we now know stinks. I probably thought LSU's one of the best teams in the country. Bama's in big trouble. I don't feel that way today. We've got more data. We're 7 weeks down the road. Bama's a better team. Their quarterback's playing way better. Their wide receivers are playing way better. Their defense has been opportunistic. They're doing things to win close games. They're right now one of the best teams in the country, and LSU is a rudderless ship with no head coach. But LSU still has some good players, and Bama is far from infallible. South Carolina is bad. South Carolina played Bama tight a couple of weeks ago. So I do hold out hope that LSU can go to Bryant-Denny and compete in the game on Saturday. But for LSU to win the game on Saturday, if that's going to happen, they're going to have to win in the margins. I don't think they're going to go to Tuscaloosa and control 4 quarters of football. Now, we saw a week and a half ago what some of those margins look like. Red zone interception that LSU got against Texas A&M. Blocked punt that LSU got against Texas A&M. Late in the first half interception that set up a scoring opportunity. These are not things that you can count on. They're not things that happen play to play like being more physical in the offensive front, or having an elite pass rush that holds up for 4 quarters, or a dominating ground game, or a quarterback who is just the best player on the field. Like, these things you can count on for 4 quarters. When I talk about the margins, I mean small things that can become big things when you execute and handle them. And the biggest thing is turnovers, and I'm not going to call that a key to this game. Turnovers are very hard to predict. Fumbles can be fluky. Tipped balls can be fluky. Slipping wide receivers can be fluky. I mean, guys that get interceptions, like, that's a good play on the ball oftentimes, but it's not something you can really count on. So, no, the margins I'm talking about are not necessarily turnovers. It's another cliche, but it's one that I look at the numbers, I look at the teams, and I think this could really matter if LSU can win this little margin. And it's something Bama's been very good at. It's something LSU's been very bad at. It's scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Yes, this is a cliche, but hear me out. I believe that Alabama is going to move the football in this game. I've lost the confidence in LSU's defense to dominate. They've played too many good offenses and come up too short for me to suggest that's going to flip on a dime this week. Ty Simpson's going to hit Ryan Williams. He's going to hit Jeremy Bernard. They're going to do some work on the ground running the football. Like, they've done that. They're efficient. They've been good on offense. But what about when they get in the red zone? Can LSU at that point stiffen? That would be a new thing for this LSU defense of late. When you look at what we've seen from this LSU defense in the last 2 games that LSU has played, Vanderbilt got into the red zone, and LSU did not have an answer. In that game, Vanderbilt had 4 red zone tries and scored 3 touchdowns. Do you know what the one drive they didn't score a touchdown was? Diego Pavia took a knee at the 2-yard line. He could have walked into the end zone. It was at the end of the game. So basically, Vanderbilt scored 4 touchdowns in 4 tries, basically. The stat sheet wouldn't say that. I say that. They've scored 4 times in 4 tries. The following game, LSU played Texas A&M. A&M got into the red zone 5 times. A.J. Halsey had 1 interception. Good coverage, good call, good play on a Marcel Reed throw. The other 4, touchdowns. So basically, in 9 offensive red zone drives the last 2 games for LSU's defense, they've allowed 8 touchdowns in 9 drives. You cannot win playing like that in the red zone. You can't do it. You have to find a way to get stops in the red zone. Now, I will tell you this. Alabama doesn't run the ball statistically as well as Vanderbilt and certainly Texas A&M. Alabama's offense is built around throwing the ball. Ty Simpson is second in the SEC in passing, and they do a great job when they get into the red zone of throwing the football efficiently for touchdowns. LSU has some good cover guys. Mansour Delane is a good cover guy. P.J. Woodland is a very good cover guy. The safeties have made some plays on the ball. We saw Deshaun Spears against Florida. We saw A.J. Halsey against Texas A&M. We know D.J. Pickett's got a lot of talent if he's in the game. So maybe because that is a strength of yours on the perimeter, LSU covers pretty well. Maybe you can have some success against this Alabama offense that you didn't have against Texas A&M and against Vanderbilt. But Alabama's good in the red zone. Look at Alabama in the red zone offensively. They're 3rd in the SEC. They're 8th in the country in red zone touchdowns. They've been in the red zone 41 times. They've scored touchdowns 32. That is 8th in the country. LSU has to be better than they've been the last 2 games in the red zone. Bama's going to move the ball. Force a field goal when they get to the 17. Force a field goal when they get to the 8. Knock the ball away on 3rd and goal from the 4 and make Kalen DeBoer send the field goal team out there. You've got to do it. On the flip side, LSU's offense, not good enough in the red zone, obviously. 29 trips to the red zone, 17 touchdowns. That is 59%. That is 14th in the SEC. It is 91st nationally. 91st in red zone touchdown percentage. That's not going to work. You cannot go to Tuscaloosa and hope to win kicking field goals. 2011 was a ball. I was there on the field in overtime. Aaron Andrews was standing right next to me. What a cool thing. Can't win kicking field goals this time around in Tuscaloosa. You got to go get touchdowns. And they're not doing it right now. not getting touchdowns when they get in the red zone. But what is going to change this week? What do we think? We think LSU is going to run the ball more. Alabama's run defense been a little bit leaky. You look at the numbers Alabama has allowed on the ground. They've allowed teams to get going. We saw Florida State run for 230. Georgia ran for 227. Missouri ran for $163. Tennessee ran for 142. Teams have gotten the ground game going against Alabama. They're 12th in the SEC in yards per game allowed. They are 15th in the Southeastern Conference in terms of yards per carry allowed. 15th of 16 teams. You've got to get physical inside the 20. You got to go get a touchdown. We saw Harlan Berry do it against Texas A&M. It's got to happen. Bama may control some aspects of this game. They may outgain LSU here or there. But if you can hold Alabama to a couple of field goals when they get down there, not even in the red zone, but inside the 30, inside the 35, force a 50-yard field goal. Stiffen when you have to in your own territory, and then you turn around and on those same 2 drives, you can punch in a touchdown. You see how that works? This is obvious stuff, but I think the statistics amplify it. They amplify it. LSU has to win the red zone game. If you win turnovers 4-0, you'll probably win anyway. That's not something you can count on. But execution when the field shrinks is you just have to be better at it. You got to make better decisions. You got to be tougher against the run. And LSU's got to find the margins to win here, because suggesting LSU's going to go over there, as much as Frank Wilson, and I admire him saying, hey, we're going over there to pick a fight. We're going to do it with let our helmets and shoulder pads do the talking. All that's well and good. And LSU may, but I don't see LSU going in there, outgaining Alabama 390 to 260 and beating them 31-20. I don't see that. But can you keep things close by winning a little bit of a game within the game like this, and then win it in the fourth quarter? Maybe. That's a roadmap for LSU. But the stats are gonna have to flip, because the statistics say LSU's red zone defense is not good. Alabama's red zone offense is good. LSU's red zone offense is not good. That's what the stats say. You have to flip it on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. You have to. We'll learn more about this Alabama team coming up here in our next segment. Joe Gaither from Bama Central will jump aboard. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. You're looking to get steaks on the grill for LSU and Bama on Saturday. Well, you need Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef to be your steaks. You're probably not going to get that for this Saturday, because you got to go up there and look at what you're going to purchase and make that purchase and get it brought back into the freezer. But you're talking about top 1% beef nationwide. Sagrera Farms. It's prime. They know it. You will love it. I promise you. We've had a freezer full since the 4th of July. We're about out at the Palmer House. It has been an absolute delight to have those ribeyes, have those fillets, have that ground beef when it's time to pull it out and put burgers on the grill on Sunday. It's been awesome for us. You need to do the same at Sagrera Farms. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. We'll step aside, chat with Joe Gaither next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is that website. Great place to hang out. Weekends coming up. You want to hit some golf balls but don't have time to go spend 5 hours and 20 minutes on the golf course. That's generally what a round of golf can be if it's a crowded, good weekend. Not at Swing Easy Golf Club. You go in there, you got your friends, you crank that simulator up, you can finish 18 holes in an hour and 25 minutes. And it doesn't have to be course around here. You can play Pebble Beach. You can play Cypress Point. You can play TPC Sawgrass. You can play TPC Louisiana on the simulator with your buddies. They got a fridge full of cold beer, seltzers, wine. They got TV on so you can watch the football Saturday or Sunday. Hang out there on a Friday night. Awesome place to socialize and can be a great place to entertain clients if you get a corporate membership. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. They're on Segan near Perkins. If you hadn't been in there and you're a golfer, go check it out. I promise you, you will be back a second time. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. They're online at swingeasygcbr.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
LSU and Alabama apparently going to play a football game on Saturday. You'd hardly know it around here, but that is going to be the case. I'm sure the vibe's a little different in Tuscaloosa than they are in Baton Rouge at this point, so let's go there. Joe Gaither covers the Alabama Crimson Tide for Bama Central. Gives us some time here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Joe, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, man. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're okay. We're okay.
Up to your eyeballs, I imagine.
Yeah, it's been quite a week and a half here on a number of levels. Let's talk about this Alabama football team. Give me the energy level, the vibe check from Labor Day weekend after that happened in Tallahassee.
Well, I think the energy's been slowly building. I think since the opening week loss, there's been this state of apprehension that I think it's starting to shift from apprehension to a little bit of belief. And I think that belief really set in over there in Columbia when South Carolina took an 8-point lead and Alabama was able to come on back down after the offense hadn't shown up all day long, tie the game, and then get a defensive stop and go down and win the game. So I think it was a little bit of, are we really the team we thought we were after Florida State punches them in the mouth? And each week, just slowly but surely, okay, maybe we are. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, in Columbia, some real belief, I think, has set in with this football team.
Knowing what we know now, going to Georgia and winning 4 straight against ranked teams, I mean, clearly this is one of the better teams in the country. So how do you explain what happened against Florida State?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. My suspicion is maybe the whole team caught the flu, but no, I have no idea really. The real analytical way that I can assess it is the 16 new starters on both sides of the ball for Florida State, 2 new coordinators. And I wonder if this coaching staff had a hard time preparing or knowing exactly how to prepare, even though the Gus Malzahn offense looked exactly like we've all known the Gus Malzahn offense to look. I wonder if there was a little bit of, we don't know who's where. And after it started to snowball, I think the team was in over its head, especially offensively. You couldn't really run the ball. You haven't run the ball against Power 4 opponents really at all this season. I think you're averaging 110 yards a game for the Crimson Tide and really 70-something yards from the running backs. And that was really apparent down in Florida State. You didn't have Tim Keenan. You didn't have Jam Miller, two leaders on both sides of the ball. So I think a lot of things snowballed, a lot of newness was there, and Alabama just wasn't quite ready to perform at its peak.
You mentioned the struggles running the football hadn't seemed to matter in wins and losses. I think a lot of that's probably due to Ty Simpson and the way that he's come on. What have you seen from the signal caller to this point in early November?
Well, Ty Simpson, I think, really is able to get Alabama into and out of the right play at the line of scrimmage, and I think that's where it all begins. He's done it, as we said, without a running game, and the pass protection's been fine. You've struggled with a little bit of speed rush through the season, but Simpson's been able to really know and anticipate, okay, here's where I'm going with the football pre-snap, and if things get hairy, I can get out of it or find my check down, and I think he's really, really been impressive for a guy who sat on the bench for so long, waited his turn, and I think he's making the most of it. Obviously, you're seeing him fly up NFL draft boards.
What's been so effective with the passing game? Why have they been able to lean on that and be so successful with it?
Well, I think it's the variety of weapons. Everybody was going into the season thinking about Ryan Williams, and he's still a quality player. But Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton have both come along, and I think you got Lazier Brooks, a true freshman out of New Jersey, who is kind of embodied a little bit of Jalen Waddle-esque. So you've just got so many different options that it stretches the coverage pretty thin. You've kind of struggled getting the deep ball going. You saw that at South Carolina, 1 of 9 on deep shots. But the intermediate and short passing game has been really surgical for Ty Simpson and these receivers. So I think it's the variety of different options that stretches the pass coverage thin. And the team's really committing to, okay, you're not beating us over the top. We're not going to let Ryan Williams get the one-play touchdown. So you've got Jeremy Bernard on 10, 15-yard digs, really wide open across the middle, and the options just are too much for these college defenses.
Are they trying to run it and been unsuccessful, or are they just saying, hey, we're more of a passing offense, we're just going to do more of that?
Yeah, they're definitely trying to run it. You getting Jam Miller about 10 to 12 carries a game, and you're having really a secondary back. Lately, it's been Daniel Hill, but you tried it with Kevin Riley early in the year, and Richard Young got a few chances to run the ball as well as a secondary running back. You've tried to run the football, as best you can, but you don't really have very athletic offensive linemen, in my opinion. I think you're really struggling to get push up front and really struggling to get to the second level of defenses. He ran for, 145 against Vanderbilt. I think that's the season high against Power 4 opponents. 270-something against ULM, but who cares about that? You can't get to the second level, and so it's junking up the running game, and these running backs are, having to make a man miss at the line of scrimmage or, burrowing into a hole that's not even there. The yards per carry is low, and I think it's a really frustrating aspect. So Ryan Grubb's really been having to use the screen game, been having to use RPO action, and been trying to use Jeremy Bernard in the running game as well. He's kind of become Alabama's de facto second/third running back, change of pace running back. You saw that especially on that final play against South Carolina. And so Grubb's been getting really creative in the running game. They are trying to run the football, but in a traditional sense with the running backs, I think it's really been a point of contention and a problem point for this Alabama offense.
Joe Gaither's our guest, covers Alabama for Bama Central. He's on Twitter at JoeGaither6. Be there in Tuscaloosa as LSU and Alabama kick things off on Saturday night. Defensively, the numbers against the run are shocking when I see Alabama's name there and I see 106th in the country and 15th in the SEC yards per carry allowed. What have you seen with your eyes with this team stopping the run?
Well, the first couple of weeks it was, Tim Keenan's not there to play nose tackle, to play the zero tech. But I think he's really struggled at inside linebacker through the whole season. Deontay Lawson, coming back from an ACL injury, has gotten better each and every week. But it was a struggle in the early part, especially against Florida State. I think they went, 230 in the first game. So you gave up 230 to Florida State, and it's been slow improvements ever since. Vanderbilt ripped off a 60, 70-yarder on the first drive, Cedric Alexander. And so you really have given up some big plays. It's really been feast or famine for Alabama in the run defense. Either they're stopping the opposing offense for a yard, -1 yard, or they're giving up big chunk plays. Georgia ended up with 6 or 7 big chunk plays, resulting in their big number. I think the run defense has gotten better, but it's the consistency factor. So that's honestly one area that I think if LSU commits to it this weekend, they might have a chance to rip off several big runs. It's just going to be a matter of, can Alabama consistently fill their gaps? And you're struggling with physicality a little bit at the corner position, so you're having teams bounce runs outside. I think that's an area that has been a pretty big annoyance for the Alabama fan base, but it has gotten better through the season.
I'll tell you this, Joe. No one has run the ball less frequently than LSU the last year and a half. They've got a change at offensive coordinator, and they've got a change at head coach. I don't know if they'll run it for 0 yards or 300 yards on Saturday. They're going to try to run it. Has that message that has been just echoing here in Baton Rouge from Frank Wilson, from the players, that, hey, we're going to run the football on Saturday night, has that gotten to Tuscaloosa? Has that been a storyline over there?
A little bit. I think the echoing or the words that are coming out of the facility are, well, they're going to be who they are. They can't change that much. And, they've got Deontay Lawson said it this week. They're the best skill position group that we've seen all year. But I look at Caden Durham and Harlan Berry, and I see some pretty solid running backs. I don't know how it's going to go up front. I know that's been a struggle for LSU, but I wonder if you just spread them out and empty the box for Alabama. Can Alabama's front 6, front 5 handle the running game of Harlan Berry and Caden Durham? I think that if LSU wants to just lean on that, if they're patient with it, shoot, it may take you 2 yards a pop, and you may be going for it on 4th down every other time, but you're going to eventually rip some big runs, and that could be an area that keeps LSU in the game, melts the clock, reduces the possession for Alabama's offense, and you may have a real game if that's something that LSU really wants to lean on.
I'll be stunned if they don't. You've got a running back coach that's now the head coach, and the new offensive coordinator has an offensive line background. I think LSU is going to run it a lot. I don't know if they'll have any success because they haven't been able to run it for 3 years, but they're going to try on Saturday. I can promise you that. What does it feel like in Tuscaloosa for LSU in Bama week? This has been a crazy time down here in the last 10 days with the governor and the head coaching change and the athletic director situation and all that's gone into that with a new president. So there's just been a lot of that. What does it feel like in Tuscaloosa this week?
It doesn't feel the same, honestly.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you guys two years ago. It doesn't really feel the same. It feels like, the LSU side's on fire, so we don't have to worry about it, at least from a fan base perspective and from kind of my listeners' perspective. But I think I think inside the building, I think the players, we talked to them on Tuesday, and I think the coaches, we talked to them on Monday, and obviously the teleconference on Wednesday. I think they are respecting the uniform and respecting the talent. I mean, yes, the coaching change obviously throws a big wrench into everything, but the LSU talent, from my perspective, is still pretty talented, pretty high. So I think the inside the building factor is taking it seriously, but the buzz around the program and the buzz in the city and the buzz kind of in the fan base, I don't think is as high. I think that there's really been kind of a celebration of, our two of our next 4 games have interim coaches. LSU, Auburn just fired their coach. And, you're going to smack Eastern Illinois. Let's worry about Oklahoma. But I think that the players are still taking this seriously because they know that first week against Florida State is such an embarrassment. If you lose to LSU, these last 7 weeks, these last 7 wins go out the window, and you put your fate in the committee's hands. And you're still looking okay, but a loss to LSU with an interim coach could really throw a wrench into the postseason plans.
Yeah, this week's kind of been a sacred spot in the calendar. I know in South Louisiana and really the same in the state of Alabama as well, and it just feels a little off this year. We'll see if they can rekindle things over the next couple of years. They'll certainly kick it off on Saturday night in Bryant-Denny. Joe Gaither will be there for Bama Central. We appreciate your time, man.
Thanks so much for having me on.
He is Joe Gaither. Follow him on Twitter at JoeGaither6. That's actually the line I used when I wrote my key matchup speech, which is on LouisianaSports.net for free right now. If you want to read a little bit about the football game, you're tired of all the drama that's gone around it. This was a sacred spot on the calendar. We thought about this week from August through now, and it's just a little bit off. And I'm confident there are some of you out there that are listening, plenty of LSU fans who are locked in. It's LSU Bama, and when this thing kicks off on Saturday, you'll have a couple of pops in the system, and you'll be fired up and ready to go. And I get that, but it's just this is usually one where it's very difficult for me as someone who's trying to plan 20 hours of radio between the time where LSU stops playing on that Saturday before the bye and then plays Alabama. It's 2 10-hour weeks. I have to try to stop at the beginning of that 20 hours from getting into LSU Bama. I didn't even think about LSU Bama last week, and we didn't do much of it on Monday either. So you can suggest that is a little bit of my fault, but I feel like we're talking about the stuff that needs to be talked about, and it's off the field, unfortunately. Y'all know me. I like on the field. I don't like off the field. I don't like talking about all the rule changes and all the different stuff and the hypotheticals and the politicians and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's not my favorite thing to talk about. I want to talk about the stuff on the field. But there's things that are a little bit more important than that right now. And we're getting closer to kickoff, and everybody will put all that stuff away once they kick the ball off. But there are still some things that need to be discussed, and we'll certainly do that. Chris Blair will be here in 45 minutes. Luke Johnson, an hour from right now. So keep us rolling on a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
All right, that's 30 minutes on LSU and Alabama to start the show. We're going to do 30 more minutes at the top of hour number 2, 25 minutes from right now. Talk a little bit more on the field about my thoughts. We'll get Chris Blair's as well at 2:15. So lots more LSU Bama to come. LSU basketball in the next segment after they got a win last night. I was there in the PMAC. We'll talk Saints with Luke Johnson in 55 minutes. But we do have to touch on this. I opened the show saying I don't like this stuff, but it is news. It is relevant, and I do have thoughts on it, so we'll do it here. You're all aware at this point of what has gone on at LSU in terms of the university president, now the chancellor, which you didn't know was going to be hired, and then the athletic director position. And you're all aware that Scott Woodward was fired last week. The Board of Supervisors framed it as it was a parting of ways. I think we all realize what went on there. Vern Osbury was quickly the next day promoted to the interim athletics director and told to go hire a coach. Then, on the other side of the weekend, you saw the announcement that Wade Roos was going to be the president of the LSU systems. And the report came from here, as well as other places, that Roos made the decision later that day that Verge Osbury would be the athletic director. So the interim tag was removed. Well, then Dr. Roos is speaking in New Orleans and is asked a question and says that Verge is the acting AD, and that he that he, meaning Roos, could not make that decision, 8 hours after taking the job, which essentially muddied the waters and suggested, hey, like he's the AD right now, but I got to make that decision later. And obviously that creates a lot of uncertainty. Roos said that uncertainty is bad. That created uncertainty. We all understand how this goes. Now today, we reported at LouisianaSports.net via a source in the office of the LSU president that Verge Osbury is the athletic director. And there is no plan to hire a new athletic director after LSU hires a football coach. Verge is in charge of the athletic department. So we went from interim to the interim tag being removed. The term acting was used. It was unintentionally used. In fact, Verge is the AD. Reality is that Verge is the AD. The perception is that there is a lot of unrest. And oftentimes, perception becomes the reality. And what matters here is that you are in a beauty pageant. And you are competing against Penn State, and you are competing against Florida, and you are competing against Auburn, and you may be competing against Florida State. And the perception around here is probably not very good. This whole thing got kicked into action last week when Scott Woodward was let go. And I told you when Verge was named to this position, when I thought he was permanent, and now we do know that he's permanent, I said, Verge is very qualified for this job. There is no question about that. 30 years in the department, all different levels, been a part of coaching searches, played at LSU, has contacts within the state, within the boosters, has contacts with agents and coaches and people in the profession. Like, he is qualified. The process to get there was ugly from the outside. It would be impossible to suggest otherwise. And then it got worse yesterday. So how bad is that damage? I don't know. But if I pair that with the governor coming out and suggesting that we're going to structure contracts completely differently, which is fine. I don't like the buyouts either. I don't like the process. The message is not the worst thing I've ever heard. But the fact of the matter is there is a marketplace. And if you, LSU, go into that marketplace with a situation that looks unstable from the outside, no matter what it is on the inside, looks unstable from the outside, and the suggestion from the person who appoints the board of supervisors who fired the last athletic director is that you're going to do a different type of contract. Well, if Penn State and Florida and Auburn are going to do the same old type of contract, all of a sudden, where are you in the hiring pool? And once again, I will tell you, how the process works and where you are in the hiring pool doesn't necessarily 100% guarantee an outcome in the hiring. It's a crapshoot. But you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. And that's where I feel like LSU is today. Now, it's Verge's job and that committee's job to go out and talk to agents and talk to coaches and smooth that water and make the best deal possible. And they are certainly capable of doing that. There is time. You have a month. But this last 10 days have not been good for LSU. Does not mean the next 5 years will not be good. Does not mean the next 30 days will not be good. The last 10 days, not good. But we know now that Verge Osbury is in charge. And candidly, you did not know that last week, and you did not know that yesterday when the president made those comments. And here's what I will say about Dr. Wade Roos and our reporting today, which I can 100% verify. 100%. This is not grapevine stuff. This is 100% stuff. Dr. Roos knows that he misspoke yesterday. And he came out, and we have a quote from his office at LouisianaSports.net that says, yep, I misphrased that. I will read you the quote verbatim. and you don't have to take a guess or take a swing. I will give you the quote that we were given at LouisianaSports.net. Dr. Roos has been consistent that he will demand excellence at LSU across every department and for every employee. And each of us will be evaluated based on our performance. That is the sentiment he intended to convey, but clearly did not communicate it well. And he's talking about yesterday. So I appreciate that. I think that is relatable, understandable, and acceptable. Say, hey, I took a question there. I said something. Wasn't quite on the money. I own that. I should have handled that better. But here, this is what I meant. Here it is. Here's the situation. I respect that more than doubling down and tripling down. And y'all know the way that I feel about the way last week went with the coach's contract. I believe that was disingenuous from the start. I believe it was doubled down on and tripled down on. And I found that to be gravely disappointing from the governor's office. Gravely disappointing. Because I believe I hated the way that went. I hated it. I like this. Yep. Took a question, gave you an answer. Not exactly what I was looking for there. Here it is. That's relatable. I sit here for 10 hours a week and talk. And there are times where I say something and go, that didn't come out right. Or there are times where I miss a name. There are times where I misread something. It happens. On the spot, live, you're talking, it happens. And I don't have too much pride to go, you misheard that. I just go, well, yeah, screwed that one up. And that's what Dr. Roos did. And that's okay. Won't be the last time he messes up. We all do. What's important is that LSU can move forward. And right now, LSU can move forward. Last 10 days, bad. Next 30, need to be really good. And we'll see how it goes. But if you want to read more about the story, including the two quotes that we got at LouisianaSports.net from the LSU president's office, we have those up there for free on the site. You can read all about it there for free. No paywalls, no subscription, no article limits, no pop-up ads, just right there, LouisianaSports.net. All right, when we come back, LSU basketball set a record last night. We didn't know that when we left the PMAC, but we do now. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Rentals. If you're heading out for Thanksgiving in a few weeks, heading out for Christmas somewhere in Texas, down Gulf Coast, maybe up north to Arkansas or Missouri, and you feel like you might want to get behind the wheel of a Genesis for that and not put those miles on your car, you can do that. They've got rentals at Genesis of Baton Rouge, and it can do two things. I told you can make sure that you're not putting those miles on your current vehicle, and also could be your first time to get behind the wheel of a Genesis just to see how awesome this line of vehicles drives. You'll know this if you're on a family road trip. Every single model on the line, all of them, without exception, IHS top safety picks, all of them. So you'll know that your family is in one of the safest cars on the road when you get on that family road trip. Maybe you hadn't considered a rental for a road trip. Think about it. GV80 could be an awesome option for you and your family. It's there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at PQ. Get on by and see them. Ask about their rental opportunities. You may decide after you get that rental that this is going to be the next vehicle for me. We'd love that. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. If you are a business owner or someone who handles client gifts, potentially that may be going out in December, how about you invest in some Sagrera Farms and you give some of those clients, some of those customers, an incredible gift of some Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef this December. Here's the deal. If you want to do that, if that sounds like a good idea, Sean is happy to help you with that at Sagrera Farms. But you need to get that ball rolling because they want to age that beef 35, 45 days so that you can have the best product possible. So get to thinking about that. If you want to give some of those customers, some of those clients, ribeyes, fillets, chuck roast, ground beef, flank steaks, skirt steaks, just premium, top 1% Angus beef. You got to give Sean a call and get that process started today so that it'll be ready to roll come December when it's time to give those gifts out. Give Sean a call. Here's his cell phone number, 225-719-1723. It's 719-1723. I tell you all the time, the flavor, the tenderness, the marbling on this beef is second to none. You will be blown away, and your customers, your clients will be blown away. It's a great Christmas gift idea, and Sean will help you package it all up there at the farm. Just got to give him a call and check him out today. Sagrera Farms bringing our Thursday shows each and every week. All right, LSU kicked their men's basketball season off last night. I guess I should say tipped it off last night. Didn't necessarily kick it off. That would be a violation. Tipped it off last night with a win 96-60 over Tarleton State. In the game, thanks to a stat adjustment that was made today, not going to get into the weeds with it, but there was an alley-oop attempt that was actually called a shot that was instead a pass, and it ended up getting stolen. It took an attempt off the board for LSU, which means that LSU shot a school record from the floor, nearly 71% in the game last night. Here's the deal. Tarleton State's terrible. Terrible. LSU overwhelmed them, and I'm not going to take any season-long judgment away from that game. I'm just not. The opponent's really bad, and we saw LSU win their opener by 35 last year and play really competitive and winning basketball in November and December, and then get into the Southeastern Conference and get taken apart with a buzzsaw. So I'm not going to be overly praising of LSU for the next 6 weeks. I'm just, after what we saw last year, I can't. But I can watch, and I can make some observations, and there were some things that I really liked and some things I didn't like last night. Obviously, shooting that high percentage is great. Obviously, assisting on 13 of your first 16 makes is excellent. I thought that De'Don Thomas was great in the game. He dished out 8 assists. 2 of them early hit Max McKinnon for three-pointers that went down. He controlled the tempo. He got into the paint. He made the passes where they needed to be made. He finished when he needed to. He was 6 of 7 from the floor. A lot of that was around the rim. I really liked the way he played, and he's very likely going to be the straw that stirs this drink for LSU offensively. But Max McKinnon led the team in scoring at the 2 guard. He was 4 of 5 from 3. He's got such a quick release. He was a great shooter at Portland last year, shot 40%. I think that's something you can hope for. I stopped short of count on, but hope for that he's a really good shooter. That would be in his DNA. And he showed the ability to get downhill and get to the rim as well. Now, that's against a really small team in Tarleton, but he showed the ability to do a little bit of that, which I absolutely liked. LSU was 8 of 18 from the 3. That's 44%. They didn't lean on it a lot, but they made shots, and a lot of that was McKinnon. But you saw Jalen Reed knock down a 3. You saw Marquel Sutton hit a couple of threes, one from the corner. And so I liked that. I liked 76% from the line. Putting the ball in the basket, LSU did a very good job of in the game last night. Issues. 15 turnovers, way too many against Tarleton State. Now, Billy Gillespie has had a career built on really tough defense. He coached at Texas A&M. He coached at Kentucky. Coached at Texas Tech very briefly. He's a defensive coach, but it's a bad team he's got. So 15 turnovers is too many. And the offensive rebounds were a real concern early. But I'll tell you this, and this was obvious watching the game. You can look at the stat sheet and go, oh, my God. They did what? Didn't Hunt say that they don't have a starter over 6'6", and you gave up 9 offensive rebounds in the first 9 minutes of the game? Yes, that's correct. But you didn't get beat on the glass when you were on defense and they were on offense. You got beat off the dribble and in transition. And because you had to help and get out of position to contest shots at the rim, which you did successfully, you didn't have anybody to rebound on the weak side because you got beat off the dribble and that weak side defender was helping. So it was an easy offensive rebound and a couple of tip-ins. It was a defensive issue and a pace issue as opposed to you're not blocking out, you're not putting a body on somebody, you're not big enough. All issues you could see from LSU last year. I thought it was a defensive issue, and LSU cleaned that up. You look at the second half. Let me see what the exact stats are in the second half. They only gave up 3 offensive rebounds in the second half of the game. So it wasn't a huge issue after you got your defense cleaned up and did a better job of stopping the ball. But again, I'm not here to tell you, well, this is a way better offensive team. I'm not here to tell you, oh, man, they've got real size that can score in the middle. They had ballot scoring. They had 5 guys in double figures. None of that really matters against Tarleton State. They're awful. You got a lot of work to do over the next 6 weeks to improve. But some of the things that I liked, big picture, Thomas looks really good in the exhibition and here. McKinnon showed some versatility. And look, Nwoku is a presence. He's a big guy inside, and he's really a presence and a problem for a team like Tarleton State that doesn't have any size inside. I was surprised that Ron Zipper did not play in the exhibition and only got in the last 2 minutes of the game last night. If you would have asked me a week ago, I would have said Ron Zipper's probably a starter on this team, and it feels like he's probably like way down the bench. Maybe there's been an issue preseason that we're not aware of, but that's a little surprising. It makes LSU really big in their lineup to have a 6'7" two-guard. But I kind of thought a 26-year-old, 4-year professional Israeli basketball player was going to be in the starting lineup, and he wasn't even in the rotation last night. So that's something we'll monitor, even against these like bad teams. LSU's going to beat a lot of these teams badly because they got a bad schedule. It turns a little bit in mid-December, and you start to play Drake and Georgia Tech and SMU and Boston College and some teams that can play with you. Tarleton State can't. So it was good. I enjoyed being in the PMAC last night. I enjoyed watching them play. They shot 71% from the floor to set a school record. That's a good start, no matter who you're playing against. But you do have to take the opponent into account, and I certainly will. They win by 36, and on to the next one. That's Monday against UNO, who went and beat TCU back over the weekend. So we'll talk about that on Monday's show. We'll take a time out for national headlines and Sports Center when we come back. LSU Bama football talk. Chris Blair in 20 minutes. It's a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, closet space is not something I've ever thought a ton about, but when you have the girlfriend who is now the wife move in, she looks around and goes, "This is a disaster." You got to know where to turn to fix that. And I didn't, because I didn't know at the time. And by the time we met David and have seen some of his unbelievable work, we were moving. So it wasn't any sense in making a change at the old house. But you don't have to move to change your closet setup. You can call David Duvall, get that consultation, and have a closet customized to your exact specifications. It starts with a questionnaire. Look at how many shoes you got and how many people are in this bedroom. And, hey, what's important to you? What's your winter clothes situation? And they'll put together a custom solution for you that will function the way you want it to and will look the way you want it to. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Get that free consultation today. It's OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.